Hello everybody and welcome to Coffee with the Council. I'm Mike Reed.
And I'm Kimmy Podgorsak.
We are staffers and members of the communication team with the Buffalo Common Council, and today we are here joined by the Buffalo Common Council Majority Leader, Niagara District Council Member, David A. Rivera.
Thank you. Thank you for having me today. I'm looking forward to the conversation that we're going to have.
Thanks for coming on. So let's get right into it.
Sure.
So just this past couple days, we filed a letter on the meeting portal with the council called WAWA, Where Are We At? Tell us a little bit about that letter and what it means for people back at home.
Well, I guess the backstory is that right after the storm we had last year in October, we had various department heads come in and give us an evaluation of how they responded. What is the police department, fire department, public works. After the conversations that we had, we felt it was important to bring on a emergency manager. So during the budget process, we negotiated with the administration. We wanted an emergency manager to deal with the preparation part of it, the coordination with interdepartmentally and with different levels of government. And so we came to an agreement with the administration that we would fund and fill that position. Well, 8 months later, here we are, just before October. They began a search. I think they suspended the search, and there's talk about having another search. We're only a month away from the anniversary of last year. We want to make sure that we're prepared, that the coordination is there, that we have confidence. I think, after what we experienced, the suffering, the human suffering, the casualties, the fatalities, it is super important. And this is not to point fingers at anybody. This is about making sure that our public is safe and doing whatever we need to do to make sure that we have the equipment, the manpower, the technology, that we have everything in place beforehand. I mean, the preparation comes beforehand. We can't wait for a storm to get here to prepare for it. We should have been preparing for this during the budget process in the beginning. So that way we can allocate the resources where they needed to go to instead of waiting till October and November till we get when we receive the mayor's snow plan. I mean, by then, who knows what might have happened or what could have happened. Like I said, we want to work with the administration. This is not about finger pointing. This is about cooperation, collaboration, and this is about honoring, something that we had agreed going back almost a year, that they would fill and that we would fund. So this is public safety. At the very end of the day, this is public safety, and we want to make sure we're prepared.
And that agreement you're alluding to was the fleet manager, because I think the council wanted the emergency manager position and the administration wanted the fleet manager position. So is that what you're alluding to?
That's correct. Yeah. The fleet manager is a position the administration wanted. We thought that an emergency manager was more important, and I still think that it is more important. We had a number of fleet managers within the departments. We just created another position to coordinate among the other fleet managers, and I didn't know they weren't coordinating. The emergency manager is something that we need. We feel it's urgent, and they should give it the attention that it merits.
Yeah, and then, so now that this letter's been filed, what is the next step?
We're going to have department heads come in and talk to what's been done. How are we prepared? We don't know. We don't have a snow plan. All we can do is invite the fire commissioner, the police commissioner, public works, any other department that deals with emergencies, to bring them in and say, look, tell us, do you feel confident? Are we prepared? Do you need any resources? Do you need additional funding for technology, equipment? How is our equipment? Is our equipment ready to go? Should there be a snowfall, similar to the one we had last year? Or, where are we in the process of receiving the equipment that we had funded? there's a period of time that it takes from the time you order the equipment to the time you actually get it. Sometimes it could be months and it could be years. We just want that information so we can share it and disseminate it with the general public at the very, it's open and transparent. That's the way I look at it. We want to be open and transparent, let the public know where we are we prepared, the things that we're doing. I don't think we need to wait for a snowstorm to get here or a disaster to happen to inform the public that we're prepared.
Open and transparent. You brought up a good point too earlier that this isn't about pointing fingers at anybody. This is about working together as the bodies of government. Working together and not pointing fingers. What have you heard from residents about, are they worried about snow going on? Like, have you got any calls or any meetings from residents?
Well, not over the summer, thank goodness. Not over the summer. But shortly after the snowstorms, we were getting calls from people that suffered as a result of that have lost, that were stuck in the snow. I got calls from people, mostly from the east side. I got very few calls from people on the west side, but I did get a call from somebody on Inner Park on the east side that was paraplegic, that was locked in his house, couldn't get out, had no water, had no heat. And they didn't know if they were going to survive or not. But thank goodness that a Good Samaritan showed up, because the police couldn't even get to them. The fire trucks couldn't get to them. Emergency responders couldn't get to them. But a Good Samaritan helped these people out. And the same thing with a guy that was stuck on Fillmore. I mean, his family were calling, say, hey, they're stuck in a snowbank, and he's been there 6 hours, and they can't get to him. Once again, a good person came in, knocked on his window, said, come into my house. So there are good stories that happened during that period of time. And we did get calls, regarding the snow removal, the time it took to remove the secondary streets or, the residential streets. So we got so many calls. I was stuck in my house. I couldn't get out my door. There was cars stuck in the middle of my street, and I felt helpless to help people. They're calling me for help, and I couldn't even get out of my own house. But the nature of the storm was so severe. The snow moving from one place to another, the drifts that were happening, the visibility was so poor that it was very difficult for people to manage that. And certainly the equipment we had, even the fire trucks were getting stuck in the snow. So it was a severe storm. So, those are some of the things that we need to look at. How can we better deal with a storm of that category? Are we prepared in terms of equipment? Are we cooperating with interdepartments? Are we making sure all the assets that are available to us can be used? Are we working with the county, with the state, with other municipalities? Are we doing everything we possibly can to bring those resources and coordinate this? So I think that's important, and that's why I felt it needed a sense of urgency, and I'll continue to speak out on that. I know we've gotten calls from media, and yes, we get calls from constituents as well. They're concerned about our preparedness. I mean, they're taxpayers. Their quality of life is affected by all this, and even, just the citizens themselves. They're just concerned about this.
Yeah, and all the equipment, the positions. That's why this WAWA, Where Are We At letter is now here. And I want to mention one quick point. The snow plan by charter, it is November 1st. I know the administration has said the council can amend the charter. Is that something very quick? Is that what we're looking at?
Absolutely. I think we should amend the charter. It should be done earlier. It should be done during the budget process so we can allocate the resources and the funding towards whatever we may need. We don't want to wait till after we pass the budget to say, hey, we should have funded this or we should have funded that. So we need to do it just before the budget process, and the best time to do it is immediately after the winter. Come spring, we should be working on this.
Well, we'll be sure to look out for that, and obviously tell people and the process of all of that. Thank you for talking about WAWA in the letter. And when we come back, we're going to be celebrating Hispanic Heritage Month.
coffee with the council. We are joined by Majority Leader Rivera. It is Hispanic Heritage Month. We are celebrating. Recently, there's a groundbreaking on the new institute. Do you want to tell us a little bit about that?
Absolutely. You know, they're a group of people that have been working since 2019 to build a Hispanic Cultural Institute on the city's Lower West Side. And back then, it seemed almost impossible because they didn't have the land, they didn't have money in their account. And so people were telling them, there's no way it could get done. It's not even sustainable. And they went to work. They just went to work, meeting with foundations, meeting with elected officials, meeting with banks, meeting with whoever would listen to them. And I remember going to a few meetings with them, to the foundations, to try to help them jumpstart it. And they overcame many of the obstacles. I said they were united in purpose. Let me just tell you this. They had a group of people that were like-minded, and they were united. We're going to do this. We're going to do this. And then the lesson I learned from this, they were determined to do it no matter what. No matter what the obstacles were, no matter what the naysayers said, because there were a lot of naysayers out there. It could be discouraging, but no, they continued. They overcame all of those obstacles, and they raised, oh my God, I'm just trying to be as accurate, over $10 million.
Wow.
And they had a groundbreaking this past week on the corner of Niagara and Hudson. And we had the governor in town, all the electeds, community leaders, excited about this center that is going to educate and promote diversity. And it's going to educate and promote Hispanics. It's rich in beautiful culture. I'm Hispanic. My parents came here in the early part of the century. I was the first of 5 children. And now I have a number of grandchildren and great-grandchildren, even great-grandchildren, I have to admit, that are going to enjoy this center. And you know, I love the diversity of the district that I represent. Not Hispanics, Somalians, Burmese, Bhutanese, Karans, you name it, they all live in that district. And so I grew up in the midst of that. That's all I know. I probably have the most diverse district, and I'm going to boast about it to the other council members. They may think they have the most diverse district, but no, I have the most diverse district in the city of Buffalo. But it is changing. The city is becoming more of a melting pot, whether it's Fillmore, whether it's Ellicott, whether it's Masson, the Bengali community that's coming in. And that's the beauty. Our population has grown because of people, new Americans, coming into the city of Buffalo. But we've been here for a long period of time. And I know that other organizations are going to emulate what we did. They're going to look at the challenges and they're going to say, hey, this is how they did it. Yes, a small group of people came together, determined, common purpose and determination, and they overcame all of the things, all the challenges. And it could have been discouraging. It could have seemed overwhelming because even when they came to me, I said, you know, they're going to ask you whether or not you're going to be able to sustain this big building you're building. Are you going to have programs? So they put together a plan on how they were going to be self-sustaining. And there are going to be a lot of things happening out of this. They're going to do radio programs. They're going to do television programs. They're going to open up to other communities as well, education and history. That's the beauty of the city of Buffalo. It's just learning about other cultures. I mean, when I go places, one of the things I want to do is learn about somebody else. I want to sample their food. I can't dance, so I can't dance their dances. You know, I wasn't gifted with that, but I can eat well. I mean, I love to eat. But it's true. I love music. The only thing I can't do is I can't sing and I can't dance, but I can certainly sample the food.
Well, I guess we're going to scratch the singing and dance segment for later on in the show. You mentioned other communities. You know, this institute has the potential to expand even across the border into Canada, getting people from across, you know, our neighbors up north to come to the Lower West Side and this institute and learn more about different cultures and education.
Absolutely. The good thing about it is it brings density into an area that needs it. It brings business to the city of Buffalo because people come from different places to see what we're doing. Other cities, other municipalities are going to look to us and they're going to say, hey, we can do this as well. Let's go to Buffalo. Let's stay in Buffalo a couple days. Let's look at Buffalo. And not only are they going to see the Hispanic Cultural Institute, they're probably going to go downtown and spend some money at a hotel, at a restaurant. They're going to enjoy the fine cuisine in the city of Buffalo. So it brings density, and that is great for the city of Buffalo. We want people to come here and see what we're doing, and many of those people will actually eventually come and live here.
Yeah, it's exciting to see, another almost tourism attraction, coming to the city and into the Niagara District.
Absolutely, and it's needed, and not only in the Niagara District. I have a sense that they're going to do this in other parts of the city. They're probably going to do something like this on the east side if they haven't done it already. I don't know about North or South Buffalo. They can say, hey, we need to have our own cultural institute here to promote our history, our music, our language, everything that makes us who we are. And I think that people are going to look to us, not only from out of state, out of town, but within the city itself. And it's a good thing. It's a good thing.
Yeah, and the groundbreaking took place on the start of Hispanic Heritage Month, which
That's
goes
right.
until October 15th. Tell us a little bit about Hispanic Heritage Month and events happening that you know of and what the community
Well, they have a
can...
calendar of events. The Hispanic Culture Institute has a calendar of events. It's probably online. They have reading to the kids. They have music and dance. There's just so much that you want to keep it, you want to promote your culture and your history so your children don't forget it. I think that's important. And I tell this to any group of people that come here from wherever they come, whether the Bengalis or the Burmese, remember their country, never forget where they came, the family that they still have there. Why they left their country in the first place. Many of them left because of oppression. And so their countries are still being oppressed. They've left, but they still have family members there. And you don't forget that. You don't forget your language. One of the worst things I think we can do is not share our culture with our children. I grew up on the west side when it was primarily Italian, and most of my friends were Italian. But they didn't speak a word of Italian. I remember their grandparents talking to me, domani matini, tomorrow or something, or saying little words that I picked up on. And I said, my goodness, that's a part of your culture you shouldn't forget, your language. And that's the unfortunate part. Sometimes we come in and we assimilate and we forget our language. It's okay to assimilate. But the beautiful thing is when I see a young child still speaking in their language, still wearing whatever it is they wear in their country, dancing. I enjoy it. I get to sample that as a council member in the Niagara District. When they invite me, I go and I see how rich their cultures are. And I think that if we all looked at that, if we all went, I think we'd be more sensitive to it, more understanding, more patient. October. We're celebrating Hispanic Heritage Month until, October the 15th?
Yeah.
And we'll have a number of events throughout the calendar, throughout this month. I try to attend most of them. The first one was at the library, the same time that we were doing the ribbon cutting or the groundbreaking. They were supposed to be at the downtown library to kick off. And then we'll do readings to the kids. We read to the kids in schools throughout the city of Buffalo. There's just so many events, and you try to make as many as you can, but it's a long month, so I'm sure that we'll make some of them.
Yeah, and we'll be sure to share that graphic information for the viewers at home.
Sure.
And all that, but we'll take a break, and we'll come back and talking about Freedom Park. Welcome back to Coffee with the Council. Majority Leader, there has been a push in your district to rename Broderick Park Freedom Park. Could you tell us a little bit about that push, who's behind it, and it's kind of the next steps for this initiative?
Well, Broderick Park was named after Michael Broderick, who was a volunteer and helped start the rowing club at the southern point of Unity Island. And for years, we've been having conversations about how to improve Broderick Park because it was a terminus for the Underground Railroad. It's a place that many African Americans considered very sacred. They would come from all over. And I didn't realize this until I saw the buses stop on Niagara Street because they couldn't go over the bridge. And so they would journey from Niagara to the river's edge in rain because it was that important to them. And there was this lady named Lillian Batchelor, a beautiful woman, who did the reenactments of slaves crossing over to the other side, to Canada. And they used to get on these little crafts and they used to go all the way to the other side until 9/11, and they stopped doing it. We put together a group called Friends of Broderick Park, and they're the ones that are leading this right now, this push to rename it Freedom Park. Because of the importance to them and the history of the park. And we want to honor Michael Broderick for what he did, but we also want to honor the memory of all those people that never made it to the other side, because there are many people that never made it to the other side because they died in the waters crossing to get to freedom. And that's why it's so important to them. And we're working with all those groups. We started a process that begins today in caucus, and it'll go before the full council in form of a resolution to begin the process. It'll go to committee, and then eventually there'll be a public hearing, and then we'll file another resolution renaming the park after that. But it's a beautiful thing. There are just so many people involved. The Board of Education is supportive of it, the anglers, the American Quarters, the Friends of the Broderick Park. There's just so many people that are supportive of renaming the park. And the beautiful thing, and this is what I find is even the family of Broderick are in support of this. When I heard that, it made my day because I felt conflicted. Here's a family that received an honor, but they understood the historical significance of this. And because of that, to me, they deserve a place at Broderick Park. Somewhere in Broderick Park, I will be pushing to name a place after Michael Broderick. The same way we honor Lillian Batchelor for the reenactment. There's a contemplative garden there named after Lillian Batchelor with a plaque there going way back. But I want to thank everyone that helped restore the park. I mean, it's gone through a transformation. It's so important. The Freedom Walk, the Lillian Batchelor, the bridge repairs, the reconfiguration of the whole parking. It's more exciting. It brings more vibrancy. Or even it has a place there where we can have music. The amphitheater that's there now, the amphitheater where you can do reenactments right there at the amphitheater. So there's just so much excitement and vibrancy happening at Broderick Park. The anglers, George Johnson, there's just so many people that utilize the park. People that go there with their children, they go there to reflect, they go there to eat, you name it, to sit there and look at the river. If you live near it, I ask people, slow down when you're going down Niagara Street because you might just miss it. You're going 30 miles an hour, and if you don't look either to the right, to the left on West Ferry, you can go by it. It's right next to Rich Products. There's so much history there, and we invite people to go down there and become more aware of, the African American plight.
Yeah, so this is on the agenda. It's going to take a couple weeks to get there, but we're on the right path. Majority Leader, and we want to thank you for joining Coffee with the Council. If you could just do a little cheers to end the show.
Cheers.
Thanks for joining us.